Us on. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unity. This is your mentor call. We're going to be doing these every single Thursday at this time, and our goal is to take you to a new level by giving you insights, ideas, and things that basically you might not pay attention to that could literally be a game changer for you. Every week we'll have a different guest that's going to share their insight, their knowledge, and their wisdom to help you see yourself in a different way. Now, these calls are open to everybody all over the world, and I noticed there are a lot of people in parts of the world that have already started to join us, which is very exciting.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that you know that you can ask any comment, question, whatever you want by making sure you go right inside the chat area. Today's topic is all around the idea of total recall. And total recall is this idea of how do you help yourself recall, remember, retain, and then, of course, champion the next day, the week, month, and so forth. And today, our first guest, by the way, Ken Rakowski, Sandy Grigsby, personal branding expert, world-class photographer. She's all around making sure whatever your inner super you is comes out. And she is coaching people from around the world.
You're so good at that. I love that. I don't even have to say anything. You're good.
Page.
Well, I edit it quite often. So
yeah, it's a killer website. It really is. This is only a 1 hour call. That's all it is. It's a 1 hour call. We're going to squeeze in our first guest right away. And that is, of course.
And if you have any messages, because we are using this computer to talk to you, I have my trusted computer here to answer them. So if you would like to direct message Ken, then really direct message me. Because today I'm Ken.
Yeah. No, you're not.
Well, on the computer I am.
All right. So our first and only guest today, besides everyone out there, is Mr. Jim Kwik. Jim, of course, is known as one of the top memory experts in the world. He teaches and trains the biggest names from Hollywood to the entrepreneurial space. He's been on stages all across the world. And literally tomorrow, he's on a stage on the other side of the planet. I've known Jim for, maybe 2 decades?
About time.
I don't even remember how we met, Jim.
See, Jim remembers.
No, I don't think he does.
He does. Jim, how long have I known you now?
Oh,
he remembers that.
Since I do.
How long?
This was that summer.
Burning Man.
So bad.
Jim, I wanted to bring you on to be our first to basically start this whole process. And I called it Total Recall. And the reason why is because most entrepreneurs and most people have a tendency to neglect the most important muscle in the body. Is the brain a muscle, by the way?
It's an organ, but it's a muscle. It's use it or lose it.
Yeah, but they neglect it, and they neglect it in the most basic ways, and that is just taking care of themselves. Tell us how important health is when it comes to total recall.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what we teach is on mental intelligence, because obviously knowledge is not only power, knowledge is profit. The faster you can learn, the faster you can earn. And learning facts, figures, formulas, having that information at your mental fingertips is very useful because you're paid for your expertise. I also, in addition to mental intelligence, I think mental fitness is very important. Be able to keep your, people want to they go to a personal trainer to keep their muscles strong and energized and flexible and pliable. Well, you want that for your mental muscles. You want strong mental muscles. You want to have greater focus. You want more agility, more flexibility. And I believe that memory makes money. The 2 of the most costly words in business are I forgot to do it. I forgot to bring it. I forgot that meeting. I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot that conversation I had with that person. I forgot that person's name. Every time we say those words, we lose respect. We lose trust. We lose credibility. We could lose, hurt a relationship. We could lose a sale even. And so what people don't know is that our memory is not predetermined by genetics and biology, that it's immensely in our control. And there's certain things that we could do to be able to flex those muscles and build that skill set.
We kind of grow up in a hacking society today where everything is a cheat code. I think we learned it from the video game space. The cheat code is what gave us superpowers during a certain time. Can you, and I hate to make it sound so easy, but first, do you believe in nutraceuticals where we can take a pill to actually enhance our memory?
I don't think that there's a limitless pill, but I think there's a process and there's a method. I think part of it is there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and an untrained memory. If there was a pill for somebody to take, become physically fit, I think that pill would do really, really well. But it doesn't exist in that form. But you have to do certain things that we know that can build your physical muscles, and same thing with your mental muscles. Things like a good brain diet. There's certain foods. I always prefer food over supplementation. Just seems more natural. But I also do believe that people can't get it from their food. They're traveling like you guys do. It's maybe tough to get all the balanced diet. So they're good brain
foods. What are they?
Yeah. So it's an area of neuronutrition. Certain foods are very neuroprotective. That's because your brain has different requirements than the rest of your body. And so avocados, great brain food. And I know Sandy knows these. Blueberry.
Yeah, every time we go on a trip with Jim, there he is with his avocados. So.
Yeah. Avocados, okay.
And I know what your favorite food is.
What is it?
Yeah.
Avocados.
So
is that really your favorite food, Jim?
I had it yesterday. And it's a guacamole. It was amazing last night.
If he were to only have one food that he could eat for the rest of his life, it'd be avocado, right, Jim?
Yeah, any of these brain foods. Blueberries are really good for the brain. I call them brain berries. Broccoli, good for the brain. Olive oil, for those who like to cook with it, it's amazing. Eggs, or the choline in eggs, are very good. Green leafy vegetables, wild salmon, sardines, caviar, walnuts, and dark chocolate. Generally dark chocolate, not milk chocolate, but dark chocolate. What's good for your mood is going to be good for your mind. So good brain foods. I would say what's also good for your mind, your mental health, your memory, is ridding yourself of those negative thoughts. Because if you really understood, your brain is like a supercomputer and your self-talk is a program that will run. So if you tell yourself you're not good at remembering names, which a lot of people say all the time, then you won't remember the name of the next person you meet because you program your supercomputer not to. If people truly understood how powerful their mind was, they wouldn't say, think, even feel things they didn't want to be true. And not that you have one bad thought, it ruins your life, but it's the consistency. Just like eating one donut, it's not gonna ruin your life, but it's the consistency of it. But if you find yourself saying something like, I don't have a great memory, add a little word like yet at the end, and it opens up the possibility. So reducing negative thoughts. Another thing people get
huge. They will overpower everything. So let's say we're at an event and we get that habitual, I never remember anyone's names. We actually say that when we meet someone. Hi, I'm Sandy. Oh, I'm going to forget your name, so remind me again.
Really?
So how do we not do that? How do we correct that? And then what's one really good way to remember someone's name when you meet them at an event?
Yeah, I love this. I think, first of all, one really good way is remembering the importance of remembering someone's name. Because what's the message we send to somebody when we forget their name? It's, that they're
not important.
They're not important, that we don't care. And, that famous quote that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's really hard to show somebody business that you're going to care for their future, their finances, their wellness, their family, their anything about them if you don't care enough just to remember their name. So just the first starting point is always tapping into that mindset that remembering names is important. And it doesn't, the other thing is know that it's the bad news, it takes a little practice. The good news, it doesn't take as much as people think. And to have that skill, I think it's the number one business etiquette. I think the word networking sometimes is overused, but when you're meeting people, remember people's names. So starting from that motivation, I would say another tip to be able to do it though, it's very popular, is to take the name and turn it into a reminder picture. We think better and we think in pictures, we dream in pictures. Nobody dreams. And when you dream, you don't see closed caption text going on the bottom, of your mind. We think in pictures. When you travel, it says no, it doesn't say no smoking. It doesn't say fasten your seatbelt. There's a picture. So we think in pictures. And so if you take a person's name and do the best you can to come up with a picture that sounds like the person or reminds you of the person. So if a person's name happens to be Ken, you could picture what? Ken doll. There you go. Ken's playing with his Ken doll.
Ken.
And,
Richard Ken.
or Sandy, you come up with something. Exactly. And then for Jim, it could be going to the gym, and you make that quick association because you remember what you see. You go to somebody and say, I remember your face, but I forgot your name. You never go to someone and say the opposite. You never go to someone and say, I remember your name, but I forgot your face.
No, we used to go to someone and say, I remember your dog, but you know much.
Exactly. I think
they know that's true. You recognize someone's dog, and then you're like, do I know this person? Hi, Joe or Bobby, little Fluffy. Hi. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Jim, you mentioned exercise. How about physical exercise? Has that proven to actually help bring longevity and memory?
I would say that's the third thing. So after good brain diet, after getting rid of negative thoughts, exercise. What's good for your heart is going to be good for your head. So when you exercise, you're creating blood flow, brings oxygen to your brain, nourishes it, gives you energy. When you also exercise, you create something called brain-derived neurotrophic factors, which is like fertilizer for neurogenesis, neuroplasticity, which is helping you create new brain cells, new connection. People also, and you guys know this from your studies of leadership, Steve Jobs, he would do walking meetings, right? Be out in nature, helps you to be more creative, more focused. Fresh air is also very, very energizing. The documentary, was it on Inside Bill's Brain? He would, they talked extensively on how he would do meetings walking, all the time. He do some of his best thinking.
Now, Jim, you on a personal level, I noticed that over the last couple of years, you've been doing your podcast, of course. You've been doing a lot of ways to where whatever you've learned, you give out. Do you find that you teaching has enhanced your retention by actually sharing?
Yeah. I mean, you and I, we've talked about this a lot because you present as, like I do. When you teach something, you get to learn it twice. So even if people, when they're listening to this, they're thinking about somebody they care about or their team, and they think about how they're going to explain it to their team, automatically, if you had to give a TED talk on something you're learning, either reading or listening to, or even this conversation, you had to give a TED talk on Monday morning, your attention would be more focused. You would take better notes. You would ask more questions. You would own it. So again, learn with the intention of teaching, and it'll improve your memory for sure.
I heard we had a speaker recently talk about people's attention today, and they're saying, social media has made it so people don't pay closer attention. And he said, no, that's not actually the situation. It's because of all the ways we're inundated, we absorb information much more efficiently and effectively. So our attention span hasn't actually gone down. The absorption rate has gone up. So how do you actually decide what you want to retain and remember when there's so many things going on?
Yeah, and this is the thing, that we're drowning in information, but we're really starving for practical, techniques to be able to absorb and apply it all. Because ultimately, knowledge is not power, right? It's a lie. Knowledge is potential power. It only becomes power when we apply it. All the podcasts, all the coaching, all the books, none of it works unless we work. And so so at any moment, we can be paying attention to 1 billion stimulus that's going on in our environment or in the environment of our mind. What gets in, when they say that's about 5 to 9 bits of information that we could consciously focus on, like maybe like a phone number, are the questions that we ask. So it's kind of like you have this part of your brain called the reticular activating system, RAS for short, and what activates it is the questions that we're asking. And so that's what it acts like attractors. And so it's kind of, it's like an algorithm on Instagram, kind of. Notice like it's really smart. They have all this, incredible machine learning and AI. They know based on what you're liking, what they want to show you more of. So if you stop looking at, certain things that are just make you feel bad about yourself, like maybe, and other things, and more positive stuff, it'll start showing you more of that positive stuff. That's kind of like your reticular activating system. And your questions are kind of like the likes, shares, your engagement. So you're actually teaching yourself what to pay attention to, because at any given time, you could focus on positive stuff or negative stuff, because there's always enough to give you evidence that, and really happiness. Here's the thing. Happiness is the C, the letter C, between the B and the D. happiness, life, everything is the C between the B and the D. The B stands for birth, the D stands for death, and then the C, which is our happiness, stands for choice. Everything comes down to a decision. And so I would remind everybody that even remembering something, deciding to remember someone's name before you get it, will go a long way. Deciding that you're going to work out like a real decision like cut. You've all heard this before in personal development. Decision to cut off from any other possibilities that we're going to do it. It'll make your memory sharper.
I have to say, I've actually done what you've suggested. So I make a choice to remember someone's name, and then I do the name game thing, and it works every time. So
yeah,
I'm really good about it. Like just boom, memory recall, pulling up that name right when you need it.
Now, I know we have limited time with you, Jim. If anyone that is on this call wants to ask a question to Jim, please put it right there in the chat. Jim is available to us for a short period of time because, of course, he's closing big deals and teaching people how to do memory retention. Jim, are you feeling good being known as the memory person?
I think memory is important, and I don't mind being, the memory coach or the brain fitness coach, because memory is so important. Like I wrote this book that comes out next year, in the first half of next year. I wrote most of it in Greece, and I wanted to go do it because it was inspired because ancient Greeks, 2,500 plus years ago, they had these incredible memory methodologies, before the smartphones, before printing presses. How do they pass on this wealth of information? And the Maimonides, the goddess of memory, actually is the mother of the 9 muses, and the 9 muses are that of art, literature, science. So it's kind of interesting that the mother of art, literature, and science in Greek methodology is memory, and that's the importance of memory. So I don't mind being called the memory guy, helping people become more unforgettable. Not only unforgettable remembering things, but also unforgettable when you have a great memory. It makes you unforgettable because memory is useful to the 3 things that we talk about is for business success. It's what you know. You need a memory to be able to remember things that you know, because there is no remembering. There's no learning without remembering. It's also who you know. So remembering things about a person, important details about a client or a prospect. And also, it's not even just what you know and who you know, it's who remembers you also. And when you have an incredible memory, you stand out. If you could walk into a room and meet 10 strangers and leave saying goodbye to all 10 of them, then who are they all going to remember? They're going to remember you back. I challenge anybody in this conversation to do anything without your memory. It is impossible to do anything without your memory. Memory is a force multiplier. And it's not just remembering and facts, figures, formulas. That's easy. We teach that on the podcast all the time.
I know you, Jim. I know you really well. I know Sandy really well, and I've noticed something among high-performing individuals that have great memories. You guys tend to procrastinate. What's the correlation between intelligence and procrastination?
I'm going to say the more intelligent you are, the more you procrastinate. Who agrees with me?
Jim, because I know you're the same way. I've seen you literally minutes before a presentation.
Hold up. This is coming from the procrastination king, okay?
There is a kingdom named Ken.
You're very intelligent, so it makes sense.
Jim, have you noticed a correlation?
I think procrastination, procrastination is, and it's where we put off things that could be important, that are important for us. Sometimes people rely on their super strengths, and that they like the constraint, because constraint forces creativity, it forces commitment, it also forces us to concentrate.
Jim's not saying yes, but he is a procrastinator. I know he.
You know what it is? We just have so many exciting options and things that we're doing that we're prioritizing those things before the other things. But let's be real. We know time blocking is really important. Time blocking is a winner. So block out your time and commit to whatever it is you have to do in that time. Because even though I will procrastinate, totally guilty of it, I do block time. And when I make time for something, I do it. So there are cures to procrastination.
You're right.
Okay, we have a question. Hey, Jim, once you spoke in regards to reading and listening to books, and that memory is important. But what is better, listening to books or reading? And is it because you can visualize the words or the pictures that we're reading? Which one do you prefer?
Yeah, there's research on this. So it's if you're asking where are you going to retain the most or learn the most, is it through reading a book or listening to audio? In general, it's been people who actually read. Reading, it engages a different part of your brain. Reading is to your mind what exercise is to your body, and it's active. And one of the reasons why people who read will score better on comprehension than people that listen is often, not only is it great exercise, but also often when people are listening, they're doing something else. I'm all for listening. I listen to audiobooks, I listen to podcasts constantly. When I'm working out, when I'm driving, when I'm cleaning up in the house. But often people don't retain as much because they are doing those other things. They're multitasking. And if you're focusing, hopefully you're focusing on driving. So part of your attention and your presence is that. So you might miss more, as opposed to when you're reading, you can't do any of those things when you're actually reading a book, driving or working out.
While I'm running or doing something that's very specific.
Yeah.
So I'm not being distracted, and I retain. Malcolm Gladwell, gotta say, I remember every one of his podcasts when I'm running as opposed to doing something else because of that, or your podcast too.
Exactly. When you're exercising, it actually supports it, especially if you're doing something rhythmic, like running or jogging or an elliptical, you'll retain more of it because what we talked about, the power of exercise. Yeah.
So Jim, people want to get Jim fix every one of the things you do. What's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, it's kwikbrain.com, kwikbrain.com. That's a link to our private Facebook group. It's a link to our podcasts, which are only 15 minutes long. There's episodes on how to break habits, how to create new habits, how to remember your grocery list, how to give a TED Talk from memory. And also when people go to kwikbrain.com, you also get 3 videos where I actually demonstrate how to remember names and how to do the speeches and the other 7 things. We talked about 3 of them here: a good brain diet, getting rid of negative thoughts, and exercise. But there's 7 other things you could do to be able to activate your brain, because 1/3 of it is predetermined by genetics and biology, but 2/3 is in your control.
One more question. What exercise can we do daily to help our memory?
Yeah, so the things we talked about, so physical exercise is important, but movement in general is good. Like most people they'll exercise, they'll do Pilates or Soul Cycle 3 times a week or something. But I want to just encourage people to move every single day. It's because they say sitting is the new smoking, that we're behind screens 8 hours a day. And it's important to take a break every 25 minutes or so, a 5-minute, what I call a brain break, even when you're at work, to hydrate, to do some deep breathing, and then also be able to move. And I'll encourage people to the primary reason we have a brain is to control our movement. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. So that's why when I watch you guys are always working out. When I follow your Insta stories, and you guys are always, Ken especially, he's always on that treadmill. He's always sweating up, the storm. But it's good for your brain. That's probably why the 2 of you are so sharp.
Well, I think it's because I have ADD, and that allows me to stay. It's my Ritalin. That's what it is. It's my Adderall is working out.
Whatever.
We're good, right?
We're all good.
Jim Kwik, we know that you actually move things around to be on this call with us. I really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to seeing you at Unity in 2020.
Yeah, I appreciate you both. Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. I wish today and the rest of the weekend, be full of lots of life, lots of laughter, lots of love, lots of learning.
All right, Jim Kwik. Jim Kwik, who's joining us, he's part of the incredible team that we're putting together for Unity, which we'll be doing soon. Also, by the way, other guests that will be on this, let's call it mentor session, will be people like Chris Voss, who wrote the book Never Split the Difference, which I believe he just pushed over 1 million more books in the last quarter. We'll have Dave Asprey join us. We have incredible speakers that will be joining us every single week, and we're doing it every single week, by the way. Even though holidays pop up, we're still here.
Thanksgiving, we will be here.
We will be here.
So there is no excuse for you not to be here. Even if you're cooking a turkey, you can listen to us.
So I wanted to start our first mentor call all around the idea of getting a fresh start.
Yes.
Okay, getting a fresh start. Since we are doing a fresh start here, this is our journey into the idea of how can we help you while you help us and each other. Because everything to us is a community. It's not about the I, it's about the we. It's about us as a community helping each other out. And life is 5% what happens to you and 95% of what you do with it. So the idea is this: we're always in a situation that's either good or bad, but how you process it and move through it, that's where the outcome comes from. So I thought today, and I know you are always going, all right, Ken, what do you got in store?
He always drops surprises on me on these calls. Sandy, what's the square root of pi times 15 million?
No, but you already know it. That's why Sandy always goes, all right, you throw things at me that I'm not prepared with. She is always prepared. And that's the other thing. Most people, when I have them on my show or they speak at an event, they go, how much preparation do I need? I go, the last 15 years, because you've already been doing it. And most of us feel like we're not ready, even though most of you are always ready. You just need to get in that position to do it. And I think we get lazy at times because we're not doing it. And I think Jim's a great example. By him doing his podcast every single week, he's always making sure he's sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So how many things are you doing on a regular basis to make sure you're always sharp and in tune? You can't lay back. You can't sit back and just think it's always going to happen. You have to make sure you're sharp enough to move forward. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, so this is what I did. I wanted to start with the idea of getting a fresh start, okay? And I wanted to throw these different things out. So everyone out there, I want you to hear what we're going to say, and then I want you to add to it. And if you want to add to it in a sense to where your life, you had to go through a fresh start, and you found these tools to allow you to do it in a more effective or efficient way, or the other way around, where you saw certain things that held you back from preventing you to having a fresh start. Because a fresh start is something, especially we're coming to a brand new year. Everyone says my New Year's resolution is to do this. Let's start our fresh start before the new year. Let's start it now.
Ooh,
Let's
imagine
move
how
forward.
amazing we're going to be in the new year if we start now.
Okay, so the first thing I want is examine the most important values in your life. This is a tough one because most people don't know what a value is. A value, so when I look at you, I've known you for now going over a year and a half.
Really? That long? I feel like I've known you my entire life.
And I look at the values that you have is one, your relationships that you have, your close friends are of huge value to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you exercise those relationships the way you should, or do you think you need to exercise them more, spending more time, communicating more? What's your thought on that?
I think it's a mix.
Okay.
So I'll go through the waves of exercising them the way I should.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we get busy with life and work and we get caught up and it kind of falls to the wayside. But then we pick it up again. And the best part is I have the most incredible friends because if they haven't heard from me in a while and then they do, they're not like, where have you been? They're like, I'm so excited. I get to hear from you again. And it's that way. And that's a really great way of building strong relationships and making sure that you pick people who are amazing friends like that to allow you to build those relationships.
I think we need to be cautious of friends with conditions.
Yes.
And what we generally do is we're a friend with someone because of, well, either they make you feel good or whatever value they bring into your life. But when there's conditions tied to it, then you got the drama and then you have the politics, and it actually holds things down. Friends, as Sandy just said, is when you haven't talked in a while and you almost start right back up to where you left off. Those are the friends you want. They're the friends that actually add value to your life and you add value to them. I want you to be very cautious, everyone, about the friends that are boat anchors, because they're the ones that are actually detracting from your life. If you look at your most important friends, and everyone says, oh my gosh, she's talking about friends. To me, friends are one of the most important things in all of our lives. They went off and did a study with people that have lived past 100 years old. And there's different places called blue zones around the world where there's a consistency of people living past 100. And they found there were 4 things in their lives that allowed them to live past that in a comfortable way. First, what Jim just said, they exercise. They chop wood, they walk, they do things. Number 2, they eat more plants than meat.
I've been doing that since I was like 21.
Yeah, they're more, and I'm not saying they're vegetarians. They still consume protein, but they moved further away from the idea of eating meat.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is doing it now.
He is actually. He says he's a vegetarian, but he still eats prime rib or filet mignon every once in a while. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 is every morning they would wake up with a purpose. Every morning they had a reason to live. I'm going to go read to these kids at the library. I take care of this. And the 4th and the most important, and this goes back to friends, is they had a community. They have friends that added value to their life.
Because friends just make you feel so good when they're good friends.
But don't you think that social media has detracted from the idea of a friend?
Absolutely, because on Facebook, you could have like 5,000 friends before they stop you.
And how many of them do you really know?
About 3.
Well, that's the issue. I think the definition of what a friend is has changed so much because of social media. So to define a friend is this. A friend is not something that you're going to take something from. They're just going to add something to you. It's an additive. Okay, it's not a supplement, it's an additive. And the same thing, it should be a win-win, not a zero-sum game. Friends are the building block of taking you to another level in a positive way because you're building their direction too. So make sure when you look at your friends, and I really admire the people that I work with that say, hey, when you are hiring somebody or you have somebody that works in your environment, you hire slow, you fire fast. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, we should be doing the same things when it comes to our friends. Yep. And that is, you want to make sure they become friends through this process. And then when they become sick or poison or drama or something like that, you need to make sure you displace them. You can fire them or cut them free, but what I do is I demote them.
Ooh, yeah, I like the demoting thing too. That's kind of
demote friends. Yeah. Okay. So when I say value in your life,
see, guys are like, "Oh, we demote them." Girls are like, "We cut that out." Like, oh, some girls.
Do you think women have an easier way of removing a friend or an association with somebody a lot simpler than men? Because
I wouldn't say it's easier, but sometimes we just have to do it.
Okay. By the way, I'm not saying friends are part of your network. So make sure we separate the idea of friends and network. I don't even like the word networking. I like it as a community or connecting, okay? Mm-hmm. Because a network is different. That's how we're building our careers, is through a network. So I would love to get your input or your thoughts when it comes to how do you see value in your friends and how do you actually mature your friendships? Because in most great relationships, friends grow amongst one another. So where we live, it's kind of like a Airbnb in most respects. We have people that stay with us all the time because we love their friendship. And it's a win-win. We add value to their life, not just because they have a cool place to stay, but because of communication, ideas, uplifting thoughts. And same thing with us. They add so much to who we are. So where are your relationships and your friends? I love to understand what it takes when you see somebody that has something that can be dangerous to you as a person. How do you demote them or remove them? And do you almost put it in hibernation, where you wait for them to mature to another level? Because, you know, the idea is this. I think Jim Rome said, you're the average of the 5 people you hang out with. I say you are the norm of the people you congregate with. You are the norm. So if you're hanging out with people that are always trying to find the next them, you'll be doing the same thing.
That's true.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I want you to reassess your values. We're going through this whole process of how to refresh or restart a new start. Next is, I want you to reflect on your past. Now, I don't want you to sit there and dwell on your past. Dwelling and reminiscing are for people that have nothing to see moving forward.
That's true. That's why like really old people dwell.
They dwell and reminisce.
And they reminisce.
They sit around, they go, remember this? It's because they can't see the future. They see a clearer past. And we don't want to be in that zone, because if we're sitting there reminiscing, oh, my relationship in the past was so much better than the one now. Well, then get out of the one you're in now. Whatever, you know.
Don't necessarily go back to the past.
Yeah, you don't want to go back. But remember, the idea is this. you reflect on the past, because the past will show you where your issues were, your problems, or where your successes are. I have a hard time when I meet couples and one of the individuals in the relationship says, "Oh, I don't want to know anything about their past." Why not? You can't change it. It's who they are. Reflect on it, understand it, because it makes them who they are today moving forward. Have you met people like that?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Have you ever been in a relationship where they
yes.
didn't want to know anything about your past?
Well, if it came up, it caused, but even if it wasn't a big deal.
But isn't it, it's you. You can't change your past.
No. I mean, unless I build a time machine.
No, you wouldn't want to change it. No.
I don't want that to be my future.
But understand, again, as we're moving forward, reflect on your past and look at those pivotal moments in your life where you had those huge changes in your past. So if you look at yourself, so what's incredible at Sandy is she takes just huge leaps of faith in her capability. She lived in Germany and Argentina without knowing anyone, because she had faith and confidence in her ability to survive. And she put it to a test to see if she could do it. Well, you did.
I didn't even speak the language.
But then you learned, integrated, and you created incredible relationships in those locations. But you had faith in yourself. So when you reflect on your past, you know you have the strength to take on a challenge because you've proven it in the past.
Time and time again, which most of us do that. We just forget about it. So there's so many things that we do in our job, in our relationships, friendships, whatever it is, over and over and over. We repeat them. And then when they're presented to us again, we feel like we can't do it because we forgot about all of the times that we actually did.
Here's a really big issue with many people out there that are trying to move forward and they put too many goals in front of them. I want to do this, 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 and this. And we see kids do this all the time. When I go to Disney World, I want to go on all these rides, and they go there and it's the busiest day ever in Disney World, and they can only go on 3 rides because the lines are too long, and they leave it being disappointed. So I think
unless those 3 rides were incredible.
Yeah, but kids, I'm saying kids now. Kids will be disappointed no matter what. If they only can do 3 rides and they wanted to go on all 20, they're going to reminisce going, "Oh my God, I wanted to go on that." I think we do the same thing when it comes to goal setting. We set too many goals.
Yes.
We set too many goals, and it leads us to be disappointed on what we couldn't accomplish, and we don't focus on what we accomplished. So as we're making this fresh start, I want you to limit your goals. I know everyone's saying you're crazy, Ken. I want to do huge things. Well, accomplish those goals first, those smaller ones and that one big one, as opposed to having 10 huge goals. I want to lose 100 pounds. I want to travel the world. I want to make $10 million, all within the next 4 months. What? Limit your goals. I've noticed that you've been actually focusing on accomplishments and removing all the too many things, and you've been hitting home runs all the time.
Yeah, I've been toning it down and honing it in and making sure that I do the things that are on my list for that week or month or whatever it is.
So as we're making a fresh start, do you think we should almost limit what we're doing on our digital footprint of ourselves as opposed to doing Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all? Should we focus on one and work on that personal branding on that side?
Yes and no. Okay. So I believe you should, yes, focus on one. Well, first of all, find out where your audience is.
Got it.
So if your audience is on Instagram, focus on Instagram. If your audience is on LinkedIn. So for me, my audience is a lot on LinkedIn and Instagram. So It's important for me to focus on both of them. I know there's an audience on Facebook. I just personally have no interest in Facebook. So instead of focusing on Facebook, I just program the systems to put content on Facebook automatically, and I redirect people back to the platforms that I really want to focus on.
You don't put the emotional side in Facebook.
Yeah, I don't get all my emotions all tangled up into Facebook. I just don't like the way Facebook is operating anymore. So I just find where I want to focus and I put it there, and then I make sure that there's a copy somewhere else. So you can do that. So if Instagram is your thing, then have Instagram share to other platforms. And I know people complain, well, it has to be unique to the platform. Well, you're not going to focus and put your energy on that platform anyway. So if you're not going to be on Facebook, why are you worried about it being perfect for Facebook? Because it's just a waste of your time. So put it where it is and then send your copy to that other section. And yeah, you do that all the time.
How you doing with TikTok?
Okay, so I just started my TikTok, and I have to say it takes some getting used to, but it is the newest, hottest platform. So if you're looking for a platform to start something fresh on and to build a following, TikTok might just be it. It hasn't been a great place to monetize as of yet.
There is some monetization tools. They're limited.
They're limited, so it's kind of like you get paid to answer questions or do things. So, but it is booming, and it'll be growing more and more over the next few months and years. So if you're interested in switching to a new platform and trying something new, TikTok is it. But the age group for TikTok is very young.
Very young.
It's 14 to
But also
20.
the attention period, it's like a 15-second video. So it's not like where you could actually throw deep stuff out. Where IG is great because you have IGTV and you can do those things. What we're laughing at.
So it said they would feel like the oldest person on TikTok. Okay, you will never be the oldest person on TikTok because there are super old people on TikTok and they have millions
Schwarzenegger's
of
on
followers.
there, Howie Mandel's on there.
If they can do it. So the thing is with TikTok, it's a platform for music. And it started out where people would do like voiceovers of songs and dance. Music and dance. Well, now you see older people coming in with words of wisdom and teaching tools, but they're doing it in a fun way. So they might be teaching something to a song or doing a video that's fun and like loopy. But you just have to look at the platform, see what you want to teach people, and go on, do it. Because if you do it and it works, because it's blowing up right now, you might be the biggest sensation on TikTok in the next 6 months to 2 years. While on Instagram, that's a lot harder. On Facebook, forget about it.
You neglected to talk about Twitter. I find Twitter to be one of the best tools out there because you don't have to pay for reach.
Well, you have 1 million following on Twitter.
I have 1 million out there, but I'm constantly posting stuff of value. And I really do. I use Twitter as also I use it as a resource tool to gain access to people that generally have multiple roadblocks to get a hold of them. Let me give you an example. If I want to talk to, I'm just throwing something out. Let's say Tulsi Gabbard, okay, who's running for president on the Democratic ticket. I can actually get a hold of her on Twitter directly than I can any other social media tool because these people generally answer those things directly.
And that's how I feel about LinkedIn.
Yeah, I would say the same
thing.
thing.
So LinkedIn are real people and they really answer, and it's a really good platform right now. So if you're looking to grow your business and your brand, look at LinkedIn. But it all goes into personal branding. Make sure everything is cohesive. It looks good. Oh, yeah. You look the same on LinkedIn as you do on your Instagram and your Facebook and your everything in terms of the little picture and what the messaging and your name. But LinkedIn is a very powerful tool right now, so don't overlook it. And you can do videos and live streaming now on LinkedIn.
What makes no sense to me is, so when I type in your name, the first thing that will pop up is your own personal site.
For LinkedIn?
No. If I go to Google.
I know, I've Google-fied myself.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying most of us have not done the SEO as much as you have. Mm-hmm. But generally, the first thing that pops up is your Wikipedia, if you have a Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which I almost have a Wikipedia.
You're almost there.
It's in the process of being created.
But then after that, it's LinkedIn.
Yes.
So you literally you control the narrative of how LinkedIn sees you because it's your platform. So when people don't put the right pictures up with the right storyline, they're really behooving the connection point of your narrative. Mm-hmm. It's free to use LinkedIn. Of course, you could use the other advanced services and pay for it. But why not make LinkedIn the best story of you by putting the right imagery, personal branding, where you were, what you want people to see, since it's going to come up, in most cases, maybe the first thing, make LinkedIn look great for you. You want to first start for now until moving forward, make LinkedIn look amazing.
And actually, let's talk about that. Personal brand versus personal branding. What is your personal brand? Your personal brand is the narrative that other people find about you. So if someone is going on the internet and they're looking you up on Google or all those little search engine whatevers, and whatever comes up, that is your personal brand. So if it's really bad information, if it's a bad image, if it's a terrible title, whatever it is, whatever they find, you have been personally branded on the web. That's your personal brand. That's what they're going to know about you. Personal branding is the narrative that you create. It's what you say about yourself. It's the messaging you put out. It's the strategy and effort that you put together to make people learn what you want them to learn about you and what your narrative is. So that is the titles you put on your LinkedIn. That is the description you put, the links that you put, if you have someone write an article about you, if you write something about yourself, blogs, pictures, whatever you share, you want to control that narrative. So you had mentioned my SEO is really good. When you Google me, I come up top for a lot of stuff, even certified high performance coaching. I come up right under Brenda Bashard because I have taken extra time to make sure that my images look good. They are tagged the right way. My narrative is strong. My messaging is the same. I write on blogs and articles and I get people to write about me. I take time to make sure that what I'm saying about me is the message that I want people to know about my brand. So you have to do that for yourself. Even if you are working for someone or you have a small little business working as like you're a hairstylist or you're a coach or you're a real estate agent, whatever it is, you want to control that narrative to make sure that when people look for you, it tells them what you want them to know. And it doesn't matter which direction you're going to shift if you're an employee at a company, because someone's going to hire you based off of the information that they find. So make sure it's really good.
Okay, I got to bring this up because it's obvious if anyone's known me for a while. My personal brand has changed since Sandy has come into my life.
It's so good now.
If you do a Google search on me, my imagery especially, you can see blonde hair, roots sticking out, clothes too big, Sandy walked in going, let me look at you and let me see who you really are. And you look at me as a person saying that is the wrong brand you are displaying the way I was.
It was kind of embarrassing.
But I didn't know that.
But I did.
I didn't know that. And then now moving forward, my personal brand has changed. So the branding that Sandy has done on my LinkedIn and all my other social media pages show where I am today. So to bring an expert in, like bring Sandy in is, I think it's crucial moving forward. And remember, a professional is expensive and amateurs a fortune. And most of you have been using amateurs, meaning yourself. Bring in a pro, okay? Bring in a pro. Yeah, I do want to also say, I know it's a short period of time, it's only a week and a half, but another thing you need to do a fresh start is to make sure you are speaking properly. You are out there speaking in public properly. If you want to do a TED Talk, we are working on this thing called Presentation 100%, which we're doing on December 4th. Mm-hmm. December 4th.
It's a Wednesday in Los Angeles.
It's a 1 hour day, total immersion on how to speak like not just a TED speaker, but how to actually give a presentation to your workforce, how to stand on stage to own it, understanding the hero's journey when it comes to giving a talk, because most speakers, they don't know how to actually do what's called a story arc.
It's a full day intensive workshop. So it's going to be great. And we have another speaker who's going to be teaching what he knows about stage presence.
Yeah, we have actually, I think we have 4 or 5 speakers that will be there.
Yeah.
Plus the people that went to the last class are going to be there too as mentors and coaches. So if you want a one day you walk out going, wow, I can speak like a pro, go to presentation100.com and sign up. Space is limited, but that's a quick commercial. You got a question?
Commercial, that was cute.
All right. All right. So goal setting is going to be an entire different topic of these calls. But one thing I do want to bring up is when people set goals, I want them to actually do their goals around the whole idea of being smart. Do you know about the SMART idea when it comes to goal setting?
I think you talked about that at Winning Edge,
Try it
right?
out.
Specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-bound. Boom.
Yeah, see, I think what happens is I'm really impressed by Peter Diamandis. Peter Diamandis is with the X Prize and Singularity University. But the idea of the X Prize was, how do we set an audacious goal? It's going to be hard to get within a time parameter that can actually make a massive change. So from the series, the X Prize series, I forget what it was called. It was basically, they created a reusable space module to go up in the outer atmosphere of the Earth, land, and go back up. It was crazy. It took 18 months to do. The winning team got $30 million, but guess who won? Burt Rutan, and Burt Rutan went with Richard Branson, the creator of Virgin Galactic. but they set an audacious goal within a time parameter that was achievable to make a massive difference. And I think we need to do the same thing. So if you say, hey, I want to lose weight, and let's just say you are 30 pounds overweight. Don't go say, I want to lose 50 pounds. Be practical and reasonable and say, hey, I want to lose 15 pounds within this time parameter, but make a cutoff. Make it so it's measurable so you actually step on a scale. I know some of you hate stepping on a scale, but you need to measure your process and your progression. But you have to set a real time parameter. You can't procrastinate going, oh my God, I'm almost there and I haven't done anything. I have 2 days and I'm going to lose it. You won't. And then it will lead to disappointment. And then setting goals later on is going to get harder and harder and harder. But if you do it the smart way, where it's actually really measurable and you have time parameters around it, you can achieve it. So our first start is this. If you think SMART, S-M-A-R-T, which again is
specific, measurable, achievable, results-oriented, and time-bound.
You can achieve it, but be practical. So in this whole fresh start direction, be smart when it comes to your goals.
And also make it a game, gamify it.
Oh, you got
Especially
it.
if you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to launch something new or create something, whatever it is, make it a game. Don't feel like you have to do it all in one giant thing. Dedicate time to it and then try to match that each day. So like if you're trying to lose weight, then if you have a certain time of window that you eat, then don't eat past that time. Even if you're starving, you're like, I did it yesterday, I can do it another day. Make it a game.
Make it a game, and it's got to be hard too, because when you achieve it, yes. So the whole idea of intermittent fasting, I know it's a tough one, right? Do you have intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Okay, what's your zone? You have your 8-hour window. What's yours?
I can eat from 10 to 6.
How hard is it? Which one's harder, the beginning point or the end point?
The beginning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so
because I fill up at like 5:55. And then I'm good for the rest of the night.
Mine's 11 to 7, right? So we have these 8-hour windows in intermittent fasting, and it's kind of gamifying.
Yeah, but for the first few days, not reaching into the cabinet and getting that snack at 9 p.m. was tough, especially when it's something like yummy, like fresh fruit or cookies.
If you have any ideas or suggestions or comments, please post them inside the chat. Sandy is monitoring this. Like I said, we're going to be here every single week. Our speakers that we're going to have join us are incredible. They're the ones that you will go off and spend a fortune to see. They're here. They're your mentors on a regular basis. And Unity, people are asking about Unity. If you go to asktheory.com, you can learn about Unity. We're sending the dates for 2020. And what it is it's a 1-week total emergent environment. And we like the area called Tulum, which is in Mexico, to do this. And what it is you walk in with an idea and you leave with a business in 5 days. So we'll describe that more as we journey on this path. But we are talking about fresh starts here. And going through a fresh start, we talked about friends earlier.
Yes.
And I believe, I'm gonna show, because I don't want you to ever think I'm throwing something at you. What do you think about this one right here?
Oh, wait, hold on. This humor one?
Nope, not the humor one, right above it.
Keep only supportive, positive people on your personal board of directors. Ooh, that's a really good one.
Do you know about a personal? So I had what was called in one of my businesses a shadow board. So I worked for a company that I eventually started to run, and it was a company that did not have a board of advisors or a board of directors. It wasn't big enough. So I had basically this shadow board to help me do things, and I would check in with them on a regular basis. And they helped me guide the company to finally do something with that company. But I realized a shadow board or your own personal board of directors are important. And that's the 4 or 5 people that you totally trust. They don't want anything from you other than to see you be successful. Okay, you can call them mentors if you want, but they're more on an even playing field. So these people there are people you check in with on a regular basis. So I'm part of a men's group that meets once a month. And what we do is we sit around the table and we talk about our issues, our situations, and we all kind of work together on finding a way to solve it. I love this idea, and you could call it a personal mastermind. I don't know what you would call it, but having this, a support group It's hard to do first because you have to totally be open.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have it moving forward, it's almost like I have a craving now to get together with that group, to throw ideas at them so I can see what they think. So that board is there to help me theorize what the right solution is moving forward. Hey, 1 brain, 5 brains, 10 brains. Those 10 brains working together is a lot better than that 1 brain. Have you tried this?
Having a shadow board?
Yeah.
I need to. It sounds awesome.
Wouldn't it be hard?
I have like a girl gang and we get together once a year.
Once a year? I think this is a
Yeah, but
once
it's
a
like in
month.
Tulum or something.
It's called a girls' party, right?
Well, you know, we like talk about touchy-feely stuff.
All right. Another thing moving forward. Hi, everyone. Make sure you have a sense of humor because you got to brush things off. You got to laugh
Mm-hmm.
because I realize, and I know you do too, you laugh a lot.
Yeah.
Actually, the very first time when I met Sandy and I totally fell for her, she was sitting there with this VR headset on, and only I can see her. And she was watching the world through her own eyes, and I was watching her reactions to things. And I go, that sense of humor, the way she was, is what totally connected me to her. And I realized that that sense of humor isn't just with the VR headset, it's with everything. You laugh at things, even when they're hard to push you through, because it gives you the oxytocin, it gives you that oomph, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I even laughed at the black widow that was coming down from my hair when I was gardening, and I saw it in my peripheral vision. Well, I laughed after I screamed. First, I went like this, oh, and then I went, ah, and then I laughed. So,
all right. So, sense of humor. Please do this. Don't take things as serious because you know it's going to. Hey, 5 years from now, you're going to look back and go, I don't even remember that. Don't make it as serious as you think it is, unless you're bleeding all over your white carpets. Maybe that's different because that stain may not come out. And last one, reward yourself.
ooh, that's really important.
Yeah, as we're moving forward, starting a brand new start, you are doing that killer diet, or you're trying to write that book, which I'm doing right now. Always constantly micro reward yourself. Say, hey, I've done it, I've worked it, I feel good. A little reward, whatever that is. It could be that dark chocolate that Jim Kwik talked about earlier, but make sure you do take care of yourself.
And celebrate your wins.
Yeah, so do you think it's important to tell all your friends what your goals are, or your shadow board? Do you think it's important to share with them what you want to achieve?
Absolutely, because they're the ones that are going to support you if you put together the right group.
Yeah, there you go. The right group are the ones that are supportive. They're not detracting. They're going back to friends again. But
But it's not just supporting. They're going to help you flesh ideas out, because sometimes we get blocked or we get locked into a certain idea. We're going to do this and we're going to do it this way. But when you share it with that group, they can come back and go, you know, did you consider doing it this way? And you're like, that's brilliant. And it makes it faster, easier, and better. Let's do it.
Yeah. We got a couple more minutes. If anyone wants to add anything to this, please put it in the chat. I want to, again, stress that we are here every single Thursday. We are going to make these videos available to you so you can watch them anytime you want. Again, it's asktheory.com, and you can learn more about Unity. If you want more information about Presentation 100, just go .com, add it to the end. And I also want to make sure you understand that personal branding thing that Sandy has mentioned, that's what she does. She goes off and looks at the center of who you are. And often we get clouded in who we are. And her, I would say, superpower is to find it and bring it out. And you want to learn more about that. And I think today is a good start. I think we did our own good start today.
Yeah.
It was funny because Ava, who is our partner, Ava, by the way,
Hi, Ava.
Ask Theory is ASK, and it stands for Ava, Sandy, Ken. So Ava, who's in the chat right now, she goes, it's too soon to do one of these webinars. I go, no, we got to start because we got to get going. And that's the whole thing. You got to go because, guys, the first one's always going to be your worst one.
First is your worst. And when you wait, where is that going to get you?
Yeah, don't do it. Always get going, okay? Your first is your worst. What we got down there? AskTheory.com. Maybe just putting it in there. All right, so our next guest coming up, we just did Jim Kwik, which was great. We'll be having people like Chris Voss. We will have Dave Asprey. I'm talking to Simon Sinek. I'm talking to a lot of the people that you look upon as great speakers and mentors that are virtually online, but they're going to be inside this call on a regular basis. Okay, so we got great people. And if you have any suggestions of people that we should have inside our weekly mentor call, let us know. Please, anyone you want?
I think I want Brant Pinvidic.
Oh gosh, he was great. Yeah, the 3-minute rule. You're reading the book right now, right?
Yes, I'm reading. I'm not listening to it. The 3-minute rule on how to condense your message into 3 minutes or less. So.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. All right, so I think that's it. We're going to wrap it
All right.
up. We're going to be solid all the time on our times. We're going to be from just an hour every single week. And again, you need anything from us, you know how to get a hold of us, right?
Yes, and we will see you next week on Thursday, same time.
Thanks a lot, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.